Welcome back, MTG Joe here. March of the Machine spoilers are coming through, and we just got a spoiler of Kroxa and Kunoros. We'll go over this card, but this card does create a one-shot kill infinite or pseudo-infinite combo that can kill your opponent on the spot in Historic. Could potentially be leveraged in EDH as well to allow you to just basically deal as much damage in increments of 6 based on like integers of 5 in terms of milling your library. So we're going to go through it really quick. We're not going to build out the whole deck, but kind of explain the two kind of win conditions that you can do in the Historic format. There's one that's easier to pull off and then one that's a little bit more difficult. But Kroxa and Kunoros, the new card Spoil. This is a Mardu legendary creature. So 3 Mardu colors, red, white, black, for a 6/6 legendary elder giant dog. Kroxa and Kunoros are just hanging out in the constellations. But you get the keyword soup of vigilance, menace, and lifelink. Then whenever Kroxa and Kunoros enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile 5 cards from your graveyard. When you do, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, what you're able to do with this card is with the trigger on the stack of entering the battlefield, we get to use the retro artifact EDH kind of staple, Altar of Dementia. So with the trigger on the sack, you sacrifice the Kroxa and Kunoros. You mill yourself 6 cards. That allows you to then exile cards from your graveyard to bring back the Kroxa with the trigger on the stack. You sacrifice it, and you get to keep redoing that basically. You mill out your entire deck. You get to bring it back the amount of times equal to the number of cards in your library. And then that kind of just fuels that engine there. So those are kind of the 2 engine pieces. Now, the thing is, how do you win? And the easiest way I can think of right now is with Terror the Peaks. So Terror the Peaks on turn 5 or earlier, if you ramp, if you use something like Fable the Mirror Breaker, which would likely be in this deck anyways. You think about it, it would discard your key pieces that you need potentially. If you're doing like a reanimation shell, the treasure tokens from the Goblin could be really useful in terms of ramping you as well. But with Terror the Peaks, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature, or to any target. So with the Terror of the Peaks, you have the Kroxa repeatedly entering the battlefield. Each time it enters the battlefield, you get to deal 6 damage to your opponent. So as long as the opponent hasn't gained like obscene amounts of life, you just gotta get some value with that. And then you basically, 4 entries does 24. That'll kill them from starting life total. They've incidentally done any damage to themselves earlier in the game. Even the Goblin, 2 points of damage means you only need 3 triggers, 15 cards to do it with that. The other card that's a little bit more convoluted to do it with is Sir Conrad the Grim. So another kind of card that cares about creatures dying or cards leaving the battlefield or the graveyard. So whenever another creature dies or creature is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this build is likely going to be a higher density in terms of creature cards going into your graveyard. So something to kind of consider with that. You're going to kind of have more self-mill in that respect. Either with like the creatures, sorry, not self-mill, but like just more creatures to get exiled from your graveyard. Or the other version with Terror of the Peaks, I think it's easier to build because you don't just have to overload it with creatures. You can play like your Fable the Mirror Breakers, for example, more kind of setup cards to get you to that point. If you're going to go with something like this, I think in any case, other cards you might want to consider are things like Goblin Engineer to help you find the Altar of Dementia. You can use things like Esper Sentinel for tax. There's a lot of ways to kind of go around that. But that's kind of the combo. Just want to show it off really quick. This card is really sweet in Standard. I could see this just being a way to bring back an Atraxa or just a lot of like really strong, powerful cards. Just even a 6 mana, 6/6 Vigilance Menace lifelink seems really solid on its own accord. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you're going to be running this in potentially an EDH deck, how you would kind of go about doing it. And we'll catch you next time. Hope you enjoy the spoilers. We'll see you from there.